Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be giving you guys an update on my main rifle I use, my main gun I like to use. I did a video on it a while ago, CQB gun. That one is a few years old now and my gun has gone over some changes. I've been meaning to do an update on it and kind of show you guys a little bit more about it, especially before I do any other changes to it. But I thought today would be a good day. It's the 4th of July today, a day that we should be celebrating a citizen's ability to fight off tyrants. So I thought, what better time to talk about this stuff with you guys and kind of show off where we're at now. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So this is my main shooter still. It is an 11.5-inch BCM gun, and if you did watch that last video, a lot of it's still the same, but for those of you who haven't seen it, I will go over some of the stuff on the gun just so we're all kind of clear on everything that goes into it. But this is a build, and the vast majority of it is BCM, so just kind of understand that, like receiver sets and bolt and all that stuff's all BCM, but there's a couple pieces that aren't BCM, and I'm going to talk about those individually. So starting from the front of the gun, I am using the Surefire SOCOM Mini suppressor. The reason I went with the Mini is, frankly, because I got a discount on it, so I ended up picking one up. I think the RC2 would sound a lot better on the 11.5, but another plus to having this one is it does take the edge off the noise, but it keeps the gun short. So right at the edge of the muzzle here, we're looking at 16 overall inches right at the end there. So we're keeping the gun nice and short. The barrel I'm using is still the same as before. It is an 11.5-inch Criterion core barrel. It does have a 1-in-8 twist, and it's a 223 wild chamber. I prefer 5.56 NATO, and I prefer 1-in-7, but that's okay. This is a great barrel. I would say it is very well made, but as far as the performance goes, it's about average. I've had other barrels that have been more accurate than it, standard government profile from BCM and Daniel Defense barrels that have actually performed a little better for me, but I really like the way this barrel is balanced, where it is tapered, so the area near the chamber is a lot thicker and the area near the gas port and muzzle is a little bit thinner. I think this profile is a better profile. Now, one big change you'll notice is I am not using a BCM rail anymore. I am using the Geissele rail. This is the Mark 16 rail. Now, when this rail came out, I really wanted to make a 14.5-inch build so I can use this rail just to try it out because I thought it looked amazing and it was pretty much everything I thought I wanted in a rail at the time. I ended up buying one, but I didn't actually do a build with it, and I ended up just selling it because it wasn't practical for me to build another rifle at that time. But when Geissele announced they're doing the 10.5-inch version for 11.5-inch guns, and that the military was going to be going with 11.5-inch guns, at least some SOCOM units were, I was stoked on that. So this rail came out some time ago, and I ended up picking up a used one when I ended up having some extra cash. And I absolutely love it. I think it's a great rail despite some of the bendy boy reputation of it. I think that's on the longer version, not so much on this version. But this rail has been awesome. It's done everything I needed it to do, and it's actually stayed very well on the gun. Side note, my BCM rails, for whatever reason, they were really solid lockup to the barrel nut, but the barrel nuts got loose. And that happened to me about 3 times on different occasions where BCM rails would get loose, and I've heard this happening to other people too, and it was actually the barrel nut. And I definitely made sure I was at maximum torque spec on those barrel nuts. But this barrel nut has not come loose, so I'm not sure if it's something in that design or if it's just those ones that were put together or something else was up. But 2 of those guns out of the 3 that I've used with the BCM rails, I actually built with certified gunsmiths, and they made sure I was doing everything correctly. So I don't know what it was, but BCM, I always kind of got a feeling like the rail would eventually loosen up on me after a certain amount of rounds. So so far, this rail has stayed absolutely true. I did get rid of my laser. If you noticed in the last video, I had a full power laser on the gun. I sold that to buy a camera and some other equipment so that I can get into filmmaking again, which is what I'm doing now as a job. So that was worth it for me to get rid of it. I am kind of bummed that I had to get rid of it because I really love night vision, but it is what it is, and eventually I'll get into night vision again. The flashlight, I am using the Cloud Defensive. I was running a Modlite PLHV2 before that, and before that I was running the Surefire dual fuel. I never had an issue with the dual fuel. I wanted to try the Modlite. I had some issues with the Modlite weapon lights. I did have some issues with the handheld as well. Watch my Modlite video if you want to see some of those issues. But with the weapon light specifically, I was having reliability issues, not durability issues, reliability issues, just under normal use without trying to abuse it or anything like that, where switches weren't working, heads were flickering, heads were dimmer than they should have been, and for some reason putting the head on a handheld body, the head was a lot brighter, and then when I put it on the rifle body, it was a lot dimmer. Just bizarre things like that happening. And I didn't really trust that the Modlite system was going to continue to work on my gun. It could have just been the one that I had. I had 3 of them actually, and I've ended up getting rid of all the weapon light versions of them. And it's not to say anything bad about Modlite, because obviously there's a lot of people that run their stuff and really like their stuff, but I wanted to try Cloud Defensive. I really like the stuff their company is doing. Right now I'm running the Rain 2.0 on this guy. I've been wanting to do a review on Cloud Defensive for a while, but there's a ton of information out there, and I don't really know that my review would be so useful, but I will talk a little bit about my experience with them. The Cloud Defensive lights are hands down my favorite lights on the market right now. They have been reliable, durable, the performance is excellent. I love the switching. There are some people that really want to run the Surefire switches with these guys, and now they have a new body that you can actually run with their light heads. You do lose a little bit of performance in that, but you can run all your normal Surefire switches and stuff. But I personally like their switch because it has a momentary and a constant, and then I have a redundant light on the back there. So that's really nice. And I've never had this thing fail. When I press this button every time, it has gone off. And unfortunately, with my Modlite, that was something that on occasion, especially when it was cold, I would press the momentary button, and it was usually a pressure pad. I would press the pressure pad and the light would not activate even though it had a full battery. So yeah, I ended up getting rid of it, but I am really happy with the Cloud Defensive lights, and I've got nothing but good things to say about them. Optic. The last optic I ran on this before this EOTech was the Aimpoint H1. I still have it on another gun now, but I switched to the EOTech. Now, at the time, the main reason for this switch was because I was running night vision, and I really like the ability to press one button to switch from white light to night vision mode. So if there is any scenario like that where I'm using night vision and then I'm integrating with people who don't have night vision, we're all going to white light, I can press one button and be in a white light mode. So I really like that idea. And as far as performance goes for an optic, the EOTech is my favorite for a 1X red dot type holographic, in this case, optic. And that is because of the quality of the reticle, the performance that I get out of it personally with my eyes, because I do have an astigmatism and the aim points do not look very clean to me. So I really do like the performance I get out of the EOTech, and they are excellent optics. They do hold up well, and yeah, some people say, you know, they've gotten cracks on the glass and things like that easily before, but I've seen plenty of these where the glass was actually broken out and the optic still had a reticle that was working and was accurate. So yeah, they may break, but a lot of times they're still usable. And for me, for what I'm doing, it's a pretty darn durable optic. I'm running it on the Unity riser. Now, there are a lot of people that don't like optics this high. I personally do, and there's several reasons for that. Shooting with night vision, shooting with a gas mask, shooting with ear pro on. To be honest, for me, I'm not a very big dude, and when I shoulder my gun, if you can imagine having ear pro on, and I bring my head down for a normal optic, so I bring my head down for a normal optic, I end up pushing my ear pro off my ear. So if I can have more of a heads up kind of posture with it, I end up being able to keep my ear pro without losing any of that protection. So I like being able to have the optic out of the way. Additionally, it does allow me to have more of a natural heads-up posture, which I feel keeps me a little calmer and helps aid in my situational awareness. So I really do like higher optics, and I swear by them. You do have more of an offset. You just got to know your offsets, and as long as you know your offset, you're going to be good to go. As far as the rest of the gun, it's the same as in my last video, and for those of you who don't know, all BCM internals, BCM receivers, I am running a Geissele SSA trigger, BCM grip and all that, Geissele airborne charging handle. In the buffer tube, I have an H3 buffer and a standard spring. The spring was replaced with a Springco spring, and it's, I believe, still a H3 buffer from BCM, so it's all standard stuff, but I did switch that stuff out, and I actually switched my extractor and springs out probably about 1,000 rounds ago on this. So those have been freshened up with some newer stuff. Stock, using the BCM, I think it's their SOTMOD stock, the thicker one. I've just got that one on there, and of course I keep a tourniquet on it as well. Sling I've got is the Faro Concept Slingster. It's been out for quite some time. It's been a favorite of mine, and I figure why try to fix what's not broken. As far as the ammunition I use in this gun, I am running 5.56 77 grain OTM rounds, and with that ammunition, I consider, based on my parameters and the data I look at, I consider this to be about a 500-yard gun in most scenarios. So that kind of leads me into, hey, why'd you go with an 11.5? Why not, 14.5, 16, 18-inch gun? A lot of these guys, on the internet, they hate on these shorter guns because they're just not effective. I think there's a caveat to that. It depends on your application. It depends on your ammunition. It depends on the type of threat you're going for. But for me, looking at a lot of those statistics, looking at shootings domestically, law enforcement shootings, citizen shootings, a lot of times those are at extreme close ranges. They are within 5 yards, and usually less than 5 rounds are fired, and the gunfight is over in a matter of a couple seconds. To me, looking at that, pistol is more important than rifle. But in a situation where there's home invasion, or in a situation like we see with riots and things like that, where people have engaged suspects or assailants with rifles, what distances were we looking at? A lot of times it's extreme close range still. It's still well within 10 yards and well within 5 yards in a lot of cases, the vast majority of cases. There is a video out there of a police officer engaging an active shooter at I want to say 183 yards. That is very rare, and that might even be a record there, because I want to say the longest shot from law enforcement is still under 200 yards. So all those things considered, having an effective range of 500 yards is almost overkill for what I would probably come across, at least domestically speaking, that is. So for me, it's a practicality thing. I'm gonna be doing probably CQB with it if I were to use it, like defending my house. Probably gonna be in a CQB type situation, just because in my experience, that is what 99% of confrontations that are around vehicles and buildings and things like that. So I am gonna be probably at a close range, and if I did need to take a shot farther, the chances are it's gonna be less than 200 yards still. So you could put a magnifier on this and give yourself a little bit more capability at those ranges. I like to keep it light and simple, so I don't have a magnifier on it right now. But with this red dot, I zero it at 200 yards, so I do an initial zero at 50, and then I take it out to 200 and finesse the finishing touches on my zero from there. And I do practice shooting an 8-inch steel plate at 200. As long as I'm in a stable position, I can pretty much get 100% hits on it. It's not all that difficult once you got your fundamentals down. So anyways, that is the gun, you guys. I thought today would be a great day to kind of share it, since we're celebrating citizens' ability to fight off their own governments or any government that would threaten them. So I thought this would be a cool video to put out for that. If you guys have any comments or questions, please let me know. If you guys have anything you would do differently, or a way you want to share that you set up your gun, let us know and we can start a conversation down below. Thank you guys so much for watching and for all your support. Take care, you guys. Stay safe, and God bless.